since we found the area in the last video for any point on the graph, we can then use it. We can now find the volume formula for this function, and which will be the antiderivative of the area formula. So this will be actually the most complicated part in this series of videos, as we'll be using formulas and calculations we don't actually know yet, which will be learned and taught in future tutoring videos. So as you can see here, this is just the ordinary formula. This is the first step, just finding out what we have to use. We have to take the antiderivative of the function we found in the last video, and then since the equation is so long, since it has more than three, it's a very long equation. We can separate it into three pieces, which will be 1/2 times sine square of x times d of x minus the cosine of 2x times sine of x times d of x plus 1/2 times cosine square of 2x plus dx. As you can see here, the equation, each part of the equation still has an antiderivative next to it because we still need to do that. We still need to take the antiderivative of each piece. We're just separating it so it will be easier to calculate. So as you can see in this picture here, we can see the calculations to find the antiderivative of each piece of each part of this equation, which we would then, with the solutions, we can put together in the next part. So for the first and the last part, which is 1/2 times the antiderivative of sine square of x times d of x, and 1/2 times the antiderivative of cosine square of 2x times dx, we had to use the reduction formula, which is actually college level math. So in this case, we have to use the antiderivative calculator, which will give us the solution. Unfortunately, I do not know this yet. Hopefully, my supervisor will tell, which will allow me to use this information later. So, with the reduction formula, we can find out that the antiderivative of sine square of x times d of x all over times 1/2 is cosine of x sine of x over 2 plus x over 2 times dx, while the cosine square of 2x times d of x, the antiderivative of that, times 1/2 will be, after taking the antiderivative, will be cosine of 2x times sine of 2x over 4 plus x over 2 times dx. As I said before, we have to use a reduction formula, which we have not learned yet in the previous videos. Other tutors will teach you and teach me how to use this later on. Then, in the middle, the negative antiderivative of cosine of 2x times sine of x times d of x will be, we have to use this. It takes a while. It takes a lot of different pieces to do that. As you can see here, with the the different pieces of the functions. We have to substitute cosine of x. We have to substitute sine of x. Just to make it more simpler and easier to calculate, we have to realize that cosine of x is u, and then we can apply linearity, which is also a different concept we have not learned yet. Then you go through, we can calculate it. This is all based on what the antiderivative calculator showed me on the internet online, which is supported by my supervisor and DocTech. So at the end, the antiderivative of this will be 2 times cosine cube of x over 3 plus cosine of x. So using these three pieces we found using the antiderivative calculator on the internet online, we can put it all together and find our the entire volume formula, which we then used later on. So if we just we put this together, we take the antiderivative of 1 over 2 times antiderivative of sine square x times dx minus the antiderivative of cosine 2x times sine x times d of x plus 1/2 of 1/2 times the antiderivative of cosine square of 2x times d of x. We can replace them, substitute them with when we calculated what we just did, put them together, and our final answer for our volume formula will be 3 cosine of x times sine cube of x plus 4 cosine of x times sine square of x plus 2 cosine of x minus 3x all over 6. Yeah, that's a very long equation. This is all possible because of the antiderivative calculator, obviously. And yeah, so the next part, what we have to do, which I'll show and evaluate in the next video, will be to use upper and lower bounds to find the volume in here. Since this is just the volume formula, and this is just showing that, yeah. So I'll reevaluate this later on in the next video. So thank you for listening. Sorry for if this is a little complicated. It's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of concepts we have not learned yet, which we will hopefully learn in future videos by DocTech. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.